sound of a crackling fire and distant, indistinct city sounds, warm conversational tone. When you think of ancient Rome, what comes to mind? Towering aqueducts, the majestic Colosseum, brilliant generals like Julius Caesar, philosophers in white togas discussing life, liberty, and the pursuit of, well, more power. It's a vision of glory, order, and civilization that has shaped the Western world for 2,000 years. But what if I told you that beneath that gleaming marble facade there was a darkness so profound, so visceral, that it would make a modern horror movie look like a children's cartoon? This isn't the Rome of your history books. This is the Rome they don't want you to know about. The dark side of the Eternal City. Let's start with something you think you know. The gladiators. We see them as heroic figures fighting for freedom and glory. The reality, most were slaves, prisoners of war, or condemned criminals. Their lives were worthless, but the real horror wasn't just in the arena. It was in the training. Gladiator schools, or ludi, were brutal prisons. Men were chained, whipped, and forced to kill their own friends in practice bouts, all for the entertainment of the masses. But the Colosseum's bloodlust went far beyond one-on-one combat. The Romans invented a particularly grotesque form of execution called damnatio ad bestias, condemnation to the beasts. Imagine being tied to a stake unarmed in the middle of the arena floor. Then from hidden gates below the sand, they'd release starved lions, bears, and leopards. This wasn't a rare event. It was a regular feature of the games. Thousands upon thousands of people met their end this way, torn to shreds for a cheering crowd. It was state-sponsored slaughter, packaged as entertainment. And this darkness wasn't just confined to the arena, it seeped into the very streets of Rome. Think of it as the ultimate concrete jungle, but without any of the modern protections. At night, Rome was terrifying. There was no police force as we know it. The city plunged into near-total darkness, and the alleyways became hunting grounds for gangs and muggers. The wealthy traveled with armed bodyguards, but the poor, they were on their own. They'd barricade themselves in their flimsy apartment blocks known as insulae, praying they wouldn't be robbed or murdered before sunrise. And speaking of those insula, forget the beautiful villas. Most Romans lived in these rickety, overcrowded, multi-story fire traps. They were built so cheaply that collapses were common. Fires were even more so. The Great Fire of Rome under Nero wasn't a one-off catastrophe. It was just the biggest one. Smaller fires constantly ravaged entire neighborhoods, trapping and killing hundreds. There was no fire department to call. You either escaped or you burned. But perhaps the deepest, most unsettling darkness was a psychological one. The Romans had a concept called pater familias, the power of the father of the family. This legal principle gave the male head of the household absolute life or death power over everyone living under his roof. His wife, his children, his slaves. He could legally sell his children into slavery, force them into marriages, or even execute them for disobedience. A newborn child wasn't even considered a person until the paterfamilias formally accepted it. If the baby was deemed weak or was simply an unwanted girl, he could order it to be left outside to die of exposure, a practice known as infant exposure. It was a common, accepted part of Roman life. So the next time you see a glorious depiction of ancient Rome, remember what lay beneath the surface. Remember the screams from the Colosseum that weren't cheers of victory. Remember the fear in the dark alleys, the families living in constant peril, and the absolute terrifying power one person could hold over another. Rome was a beacon of civilization, yes. It gave us law, engineering, and art, but it was also built on a foundation of unimaginable cruelty, brutality, and a casual disregard for human life that we can barely comprehend today. That is the true unspoken legacy of the Eternal City, the dark side of Rome.